Hello, I'm Scott McIsaac, currently the chairman of the Hingham Conservation Commission, and you're watching Getting to Know on HCAM TV.
On this episode of Getting to Know, we sit in on a Hingham Trails Committee meeting, visit Notre Dame Academy for a presentation on vernal pools, and finally we'll install a rain garden in Waltons Cove. All this coming up on Getting to Know.
The Hingham Conservation Commission is responsible for working with the conservation officer in Hingham to enforce the rules and regulations that are mandated by the state and by our town bylaws. And these regulations are associated with wetlands, riverfronts, ocean property, land under the ocean, and other wetland areas in town that may come under the regulations as they're written by the state and local authorities. Well, we're 7 members, all volunteers, residents in the town of Hingham, who are interested in helping our conservation officer, who is an employee of the town. And our job is to hear what, in this case, Abby Pearsall has to say about various applications which involve any type of building near wetlands, any type of construction, any development, or any general changes to the wetlands or any areas that may be mandated under the wetland regulations in the state of Massachusetts or the town of Hingham. We generally meet twice a month, and we basically try to familiarize ourselves with the regulations so that when we're asked to make a decision, we know how we feel and whether or not the applicant has presented enough information for us to make a ruling. And how can you find out more information about the Conservation Commission? Well, fortunately in our town we have a wonderful resource through the town website where you can click on the Conservation Commission tab and you will be directed to the names of the people working in the office, a member of maps. You can look at where your property resides relative to the delineation of any wetlands, and of course the people who work here are always willing to be available for anyone coming into the office or making a phone call. And by all means be assured that if you have an interest that involves conservation matters, there's someone in the office or on the commission who is willing to listen and to help and hopefully endorse your plan. And on this issue of getting to know, you'll be exposed to a lot of the new projects that the current Conservation Commission is working on. It gives you an idea of some of the varieties of topics, from rain gardens to some of our proceedings to open areas, and hopefully you'll gain an interest and come join us. So enjoy the show.
Actually, a project that we started for a number of reasons. One, we've got a lot of conservation lands around town and a lot of trails, but not an overall management plan for those specific areas. It also was something that Matt Zeiper, who works on our Community Preservation Committee, had actually brought to me as a suggestion and to the Conservation Commission to say, what could we possibly do to start to link up some of these trails and to use these trails as a way to preserve our natural habitats, to link open spaces, to get people into the woods, and to really foster that sense of stewardship of our open lands.
So we actually, BSC Group responded to a request for proposal from Hingham Conservation Commission, and they were looking for individuals who could actually do an assessment of existing trails as well as trail connections based on some of the priorities that were highlighted in the Hingham Open Space Plan. And so the Trail Committee came about as a group of individuals that represent different committees within Hingham, as well as different residential groups within Hingham. And so these are individuals that can voice out the opinion of the different town committees or the residences of the town to make sure that all the voices are being heard and all of the information that the public would want to see in a trail plan is included in the trail plan.
So Abby kind of spearheaded it. It was really her proposal to CPC. She also asked before submitting the project to get the support of the Recreation Commission. So that's how we kind of got involved. We thought it was a great idea, and that's why we're here today supporting it. We're working together and with the community to gain feedback on linking existing trails with other trails so that we connect hopefully all parts of Hingham together, or at least certain segments of Hingham together.
We had several interviews with the town, and after our second interview we were selected as the consulting group to do the work. And once we were selected, it was just feet to the ground, taking the GPS unit out and trying to figure out where all the existing Hingham parcels are and figuring out whether or not there were trails, and then GPSing the trails and GPSing data such as trailheads, bridges, culverts, additional trail connections, intersections, points of interest, kind of like cultural resources and natural resources, which were all part of the request for proposal information that Hingham had asked for as part of the plan. So there's approximately, we looked at this today, 45 miles of walkable trails within Hingham, and these are the existing parks that are open to the public. This also includes the Hingham Land Trust properties. And so now we're looking at additional trail linkages, either through sidewalks or some of the private schools that have public space, or some other locations along Hingham, including TTOR parcels and DCR parcels with existing trails, so that we can lengthen the 44 miles of trails in Hingham to other locations. So we're trying to link open space parcels to commercial areas and like MBTA stops, so that if people come to visit Hingham, they know that they not only can go shopping, they can also go to some of the parks. So we have Bear Cove Park, which is a historic military park. It has an ammunitions building with a lot of interpretive information, and also has a couple of shelters. It has beautiful views of the cove and the river. Then you have places like Foundry Pond that include some dams, historic dams. You also have places like Moore Brewer Park, which was part of an old estate. And so you have anything from the traditional granite posts to some of the cedar landscapings that they had in their fields, other historic monumentation, and there's even an old barn, stone barn, that's fantastic to go visit and take pictures. So there's definitely a lot of historic places to see in Hingham. It's one of those things that the plan is going to highlight where these places are so that the community can enjoy it, and so the public from outside of Hingham can also enjoy it, as well as some other natural resources places like some of the vistas, some of the vernal pools, some of the more traditional forested areas versus fieldy areas. Like I said, Hingham has a little bit of everything from marsh to uplands with forests to cultural resources.
So in the next month or so, we're going to be synthesizing all of the feedback that we've gotten from our last few public meetings and the survey that we have running online right now. And we'll be pulling all those things together, creating some priorities, and basically coming back to folks with one more public meeting at sometime middle of July. And at that point, we'll be saying, okay, last call, did we get it right? And then beyond that, by the end of the sort of early August, we'll be coming together with a finalized plan.
So the plan itself is going to be a living document, so it's going to be something that Hingham can use anywhere from within the next 6 months to the next 10 years. And they can look at it, and they can look at some of the recommendations, and they can look to see, based on funding, which recommendations can actually be implemented for some of the trail linkages.
The Conservation Commission will be looking at the open space plan this year. It actually expires in 2016, so that's that's one of the next big projects for the commission to work on. And so this plan will really inform how that plan works between the commission, between the Open Space Acquisition Committee. There's a lot of great folks that are going to be working on that project.
The plan will also include trail maps for the public, so that's something that's going to be readily available for everybody through the Hingham Town website, so that people know where they can go, where they can park, how they can access the trails, and hopefully take these maps with them and enjoy the parks.
We want folks to come to us and talk about how we can create sort of a Friends of the Hingham Trails network. We want to be able to have things like Adopt a Spot and ways for folks to really take over some of the stewardship of these properties. You know, so the idea being that the Conservation Office becomes the place that offers the support and the framework, but we really want people to own these places and invest in them and really have, you know, this vested interest in keeping our, you know, our pristine places pristine and really sort of talk about, you know, getting people excited and getting people onto the trails and really, you know, having a stake in them.
We think it's important for trails and recreational usage, so anything really recreational involving in the town, we're happy to be a part of.
If individuals want more information, they can visit the Town of Hingham website, and then within the Town of Hingham you can look at the committees, and there's going to be the Trail Committee link. That will include the links for the surveys as well as links for all the public meeting presentations that we've been having, as well as a small segment about GPSing trails that we did over at Bouvet. Also the Hingham Public Television or Community Access Television. Hingham Community Access Television will provide that information as well. They have all the videos with all the presentations that we've been doing. You can also visit the Conservation Commission office. They're going to have copies of all the paper maps that are in draft form, as well as additional information for surveys and volunteer opportunities within the town. And then I believe the town also has a Facebook page, and they've been promoting the project through that venue.
Come to the Conservation Office. You can email us at conservation@hingham-ma.gov. You can call the Conservation Office and chat with me. We're always looking for folks to volunteer. We're always looking for people who want to be involved in the plan and then beyond. The big message is for folks to just keep spreading the word. You know, we have a survey going right now that we really want to get people, you know, involved with, and really just, if you haven't told us, you know, sort of what your ideas are so far, please be in touch, because we really do want to hear from you.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
Hi, my name is Jana Lou Turner, and I teach environmental science at NDA Hingham. This is my honors environmental science class. They're a team of citizen scientists who've been studying a vernal pool and hopes to certify it.
A vernal pool is a body of water, and it doesn't have an input or an output, and the water is from precipitation and runoff. And there's obligate and facultative species in there, which means that some of the species need to be in there to live, and then others can come back and forth. And it's only there in early spring to early summer, if it even lasts that long, and it comes back annually.
This study came about 15 years ago, really, the environmental science classes have been studying vernal pools and trying to certify them every spring for the last 15 years. This past winter did have an effect on the vernal pools. They filled up very, very full and took a long time to thaw. So it took a while to get our study started, and once we did, they were full, they were hard to wade through, and because we had all that heavy snow, they were full for maybe a couple weeks, and then we had warm weather. So actually the warm weather might be the most detrimental because they've evaporated really, really quickly and have had kind of a short season for all of the breeding to happen.
So in the beginning, we just studied what to look for when we were at the vernal pool. For example, some spermatophores and different eggs and different species and what sounds to look for. So once we got to the vernal pool, we pretty much knew exactly what we were looking for. So when we found the different egg masses, we would take pictures and we store them and put them into the PowerPoint. We found some blue spotted salamander egg masses, some wood frog egg masses. We also heard wood frogs when we were there. Oh, I hear the wood frog. We've been, this specific vernal pool, we've been researching for about 2 to 3 months, but we've been researching vernal pools for about 6 months.
When we gather all of our findings, and most of them are organized into folders and PowerPoint slides, we will then submit online all of our data to the NHESP, which is a state organization, and they will look through what we've collected, look at our evidence, and decide if it is a vernal pool. If so, it gets protected an extra 50 feet all around the perimeter compared to other wetlands, and it goes on the list of vernal pools in Massachusetts.
So typically the way that certification works, whether it comes through the Conservation Commission and we're asked to help with certification, or if a citizen scientist goes out and collects the information and submits it directly to the Natural Heritage Program, when the evidence is supplied, the state will take a look at it, they'll review, and then we go ahead and once the certification is there, it's subject to additional protections. And so these are regulatory protections. So basically this work is directly related to making sure that these areas can't be encroached upon, and the buffers to where the edge of those pools are is something that can't be developed. And that's a real big deal for these species who really need that space to be able to go to and from the pool and make sure that the water quality in those pools isn't affected. It's one of the things that is, I think, one of the most exciting parts about my job is getting to see the work that you're doing. Because again, it's it sort of containing it in the regulatory world is one thing, but when these places start to matter to folks, I think that's when the protections really start to fly. So
it definitely makes a difference when you're actually there and get to see all your excitement of all the fun that you guys had when you were out there.
Welcome home, man.
How you doing? My name's Steve. My family's lived in this neighborhood for years. Recently, things got so tight, we had to go to our local food bank for help. I lost a lot of sleep worrying about what the neighbors might think. That is until I saw them there, too. How'd I do, Steve?
A little stiff. You could have done a little better.
What? Come on. You know, I have an Academy Award.
Yeah, but not for playing me.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
Today we are learning about rain gardens and actually installing one at a homeowner's house here at Waltons Cove. A rain garden is a landscape depression that has a flat bottom, and it's designed to infiltrate stormwater that comes off of your rooftop or your driveway or maybe a patio and help it to soak into the ground rather than running into a creek or the cove.
The idea is that we create a depression where the plants can feed off of any excess fertilizers from lawns or whatever, and all the water will collect there and it will feed the plants, and it will be sort of one stage of filtering before the water ends up passing over into the cove here.
A rain garden helps to remove any pollutants that might be in the water, like nutrients or sediment, maybe even bacteria from pet waste. It helps filter it down into the soil, and then the plants take up the nutrients, and it helps to improve our water quality.
This project is one small piece of an entire effort to essentially protect Waltons Cove from the onslaught of sediment and pollutants that are reaching it from the storm drain systems, and also from water that's coming off of people's private property and ultimately getting into the roadway, flowing overland, and getting into the cove. So the whole point of today is to really protect this water body and the surrounding harbor. So we're here for kind of a bigger purpose. This is phase 2 in a grant project that the town of Hingham has been working on for a while with Kitty's help and sort of prodding to get things done and move this cause forward. So we're very grateful for her and to Robbie for volunteering their property for this event. The Department of Coastal Zone Management has actually awarded a grant for this piece. So this is a phase 2 of this grant project. That also involves some public infrastructure improvements on Downer Avenue that will come in sort of later phases. But this is really the opportunity for folks to take a look and see what they can do on their own properties to help this overall cause.
So I live here. I've lived here since 1969, and when my family and I moved here, we could swim off of our yard at low tide. Now we can barely have enough water to launch a kayak. So a couple of years after we moved in here, the highway department installed some culverts that would empty this watershed's storm drain, storm water into the cove. And this is a huge watershed, it's 95 acres. And I tried to stop it. My neighbor and I went out in 2009 with bulb planters and took sediment samples and took them to the lab that the town uses for the water at the bathing beach. And lo and behold, what we have in here is cadmium, lead, mercury, zinc, copper, arsenic, all manner of noxious chemicals. Not enough to damage human beings, but certainly enough that it has damaged the ecosystem.
Back in 2014, early 2014, and we did a larger scale study of the Waltons Cove watershed or Waltons Cove drainage area. And we identified a series of practices and retrofits for managing stormwater in particularly public right-of-ways and publicly owned areas. So this project was identified as part of that effort as a public outreach component to that project, which was a Massachusetts CZM funded project.
So this it goes back a number of years, and this is actually a project that I stepped into that was already sort of up and going before I came to work for the town of Hingham a few years ago. So Ken Corson, Kitty Ward, and Chris Rifkin were folks who were, Ken is our harbor master, and Kitty and Chris are residents along the cove here. And they were looking for ways to help restore the health of this water body that they'd seen degraded over the years. So for my part, I came in after some of these grant pieces were written to help find money to do some of the projects that would help. And have basically just been part of the team that, that is trying to find money and spread the word and really make a difference in this particular part of the cove.
I got involved with the Hingham's Conservation Department through a project that we did last year and continued with this year to try to improve water quality in Waltons Cove. We did a retrofit inventory throughout the watershed to the cove, which means we went around in the field and looked for opportunities to improve water quality before it actually reaches the cove itself. And this is a part of the project to get homeowners involved and see how they can help improve water quality.
So after I got the guy planted, the little baby plant in here, I like to leave a little bit of a ring around it so that when we water this with a hose just to get these things started, the water will pool around the plant and get directly. It's like a mini rain garden within the rain garden. So we're basically making just a little bit of an earthen dam to hold a little bit of water directly around the plant.
So I've been working with Kitty to keep her yard going for a few years, and we just put in a little garden in the front, which is basically a rain garden. It feeds off of her drain pipe on the front side of the house, so it's sort of a riff on this. This is a sort of more developed version. We've kind of got we've made a huge trough here for the water to collect from her drain pipes, which we dug out a huge trench and laid drain pipes that feed into this, and we're just re-guiding water that would normally be creating an erosive situation where all the impervious surfaces of the roofs end up creating a flood of water. And so by guiding it into a garden, we can feed plants with it and give the water a place to go.
The big pictures is looking at ways that we can protect both Waltons Cove and Hingham Harbor from sort of the onslaught of pollutants that we see travel through our stormwater into our water bodies. And so this is one opportunity to show folks what they can do on their own properties to be part of the solution.
If somebody wanted to make their own rain garden at their house, they could reach out to the Hingham Conservation Department for more information. There's also a flyer that the Conservation Department has on Rain Garden Guide for homeowners that might help you. And I also just wanted to point out that there is an organization called Yukon NEMO, which stands for Non-Point Education for Municipal Operators. It's kind of a strange acronym, but they have actually a rain garden app that you could download on your phone, and it will take you through from start to finish on how to build your very own rain garden. I love the idea of rain gardens because they are really easy, simple features that anyone could put in their yard that can really make a cumulative impact on water quality.
There's probably a potential for rain gardens on most properties around town. This isn't just for the Waltons Cove area. It's not just for Hingham Coastline. Anywhere that you have water flowing off of your property, it's ultimately reaching a water body. It's going into the wetlands, it's getting into our streams, our ponds. And so this is a really great opportunity if you want to be responsible for being part of that solution, being part of the group that's really working to make a healthier ecosystem for the town of Hingham. This is your shot, so please be in touch.